I can tell you with complete confidence that goal setting is the enemy of progress, and that is a lesson that most entrepreneurs will learn too late. And this is true for any entrepreneur, but especially if you're like me and you have ADHD. So I'm talking about the type of goal setting that's built on outcomes and on deadlines. You know, the ones, the SMART goals, the 50K months, the 10,000 followers kinds of goal setting. That goal setting that by its own design sets you up to fail, because measuring progress on an outcome and a deadline only ever leaves space for two options. You can succeed or you can fail, and there's nothing in between. And this rigid criteria ignores any actual human experience, so of course it's ineffective. Think about it. Goals are set and achieved by humans. If how we set about achieving those goals doesn't take into account being a human, in what world can it be effective? It's almost kind of ironic. Target-based goal setting is supposed to make you more productive, but in reality, it's just what stands in its way. Quality is sacrificed to make the deadline that you set. Your focus becomes short-term thinking rather than long-term vision, and your success is measured on only achievement, which inevitably is going to lead to burnout. So what you need is an alternative. What you need is a system to measure and make progress that's built on the actual human experience. A system that will also fast track your results. So what you need are growth anchors. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how opting into growth anchors and out of goal setting is how I single-handedly built a $250,000 business in under 2 years. So I want to start by explaining how growth anchors are different to goal setting, and then show you why growth anchors are the secret sauce if you want to fast track your progress as an entrepreneur. So traditional goal setting methods ignore the link between personal and business growth. And make no mistake, personal growth is essential for business growth. And growth anchors are built on that as a foundational principle. Think of them as a purpose-built compass almost, a commitment to your values that align to an overall outcome, an overall vision. And this is why they're so effective and exactly how they fast track you to success. In goal setting, you set a target. With growth anchors, you align to a value. And then from there, your decisions, actions, or reactions are all centered on that defined value. So it's as simple as this. If you're the type of entrepreneur looking to build a business that is fulfilling, successful, and sustainable, then growth anchors are the key to that. They are exactly what you've been searching for. But honestly, the best way to explain that comparison is with an example. So imagine two entrepreneurs who decide to launch a business at the exact same time. Let's call one of them John and one of them Emily. This is the first business launch for both of our entrepreneurs, so neither of them have any idea what to expect. John follows the traditional goal setting strategies. For his launch, his goals are metrics and their deadlines. The first one being to make $10,000 a month in revenue by 3 months in, and the second being gain 5,000 Instagram followers in that same 3 months. Now, Emily instead opts for growth anchors. Remember, the foundational principle of her growth anchor is that she aligns it with her values. So she sets her growth anchor as momentum over money instead of having any goals. She chooses momentum because it means something is growing stronger as it goes along, which also aligns with her personal values, which are growth and integrity and resilience. So she's committing to measuring her progress in her business on it growing stronger and faster over time, rather than with the money it makes like John is. And this is an uncomfortable choice for Emily. She knows that once her growth anchor is set, every decision, action, and reaction that she makes, has, or does must align with her commitment to that growth anchor. But what Emily understands is that discomfort is an inevitable part of the journey for any entrepreneur. So she goes all in on making momentum over money that growth anchor the guiding force in her business. Okay, now let's fast forward 3 months into both our entrepreneurs' business launches. Both John and Emily have grown to 2,000 followers on Instagram, and both are making $5,000 a month in revenue. Now let's start with John. John hasn't reached either of the goals that he set for himself. And because those goals are defined on that rigid criteria of goal setting, fail or succeed, John has essentially failed. He feels disheartened and begins questioning his abilities. He feels a pressure to change strategies or to just try harder. That sense of failure will really begin to weigh on him. He's left feeling inadequate and he's worried about his business's future because he has internalized that feeling of being a failure as a reflection of himself. His progress is overshadowed by those unmet targets and every step forward feels like it's not enough. Now let's go to Emily. Her reflection on the last 3 months is completely different. Her growth anchor, momentum over money, has kept her focus on building a steady foundation in her business. She's building with no immediate pressure of hitting a revenue target. Her progress feels rewarding because she's been celebrating each step that moves her closer to her ultimate vision. The fact that she's making $5,000 a month and has an engaged audience of 2,000 followers is a success. It's not a failure, despite the outcomes being identical to John's. And this is because Emily's growth anchor allows her to prioritize forward movement and small gains. She's motivated by growing her engagement and a consistent pace that she's set for herself. Now let's fast forward again to 6 months. By this point, John, he's changed his strategy multiple times. He's trying to force those faster results. He's absolutely knackered, he's stressed, he's burnt out from chasing metrics that by now feel completely out of reach. He internalizes it, he becomes super self-critical, and now his business just feels like a burden. For Emily, on the other hand, each small milestone is contributing to a larger sense of purpose. It's not just a number on a spreadsheet. She's energized and she's inspired to keep building the business. Her success isn't defined by rigid financial returns or those follower numbers, but instead by her momentum, her continuous growth. So in the end, Emily's approach has not only been more productive, but it's kept her grounded and aligned with her values and her long-term visions. Her actions align to her growth anchor, momentum over money. So she's driven by those values and her business is ultimately fulfilling her. It's sustainable and it's growing as she does. And that's the difference between John and Emily. Traditional goal setting forces you to navigate your choices, intentions, and responses in pursuit of numbers and vanity metrics like revenue and followers. Growth anchors, on the other hand, guide how you think, act, and adapt through the different phases of your journey as an entrepreneur. They allow you flexibility and build resilience while still pushing you forward at a faster rate. And that is exactly why they're more effective. As Emily experienced, growth anchors create consistent, sustainable fulfillment. They're the intersection between personal and professional growth. So let's talk about how you can create your growth anchor. So step 1, define your core values. Your growth anchor aligns with your core values, both personal and professional. And trust me when I say that there is no greater value than knowing yourself and knowing the things that matter to you. Spending time to reflect on your values is always going to be a priceless endeavor. So for me, I have a bunch of personal values, but my core values really are courage, passion, accountability, and freedom. Professionally speaking, my core values are knowledge, empowerment, exploration, and alignment. And if you want to figure out yours, follow these steps and it will give you the clarity on your core values. This is the 3-step core values framework. Number 1, identify your personal values. So the first thing to do is remember your fulfilling experiences. Think about experiences where you felt really alive or fulfilled or proud. What were you doing during those moments? And what made that experience feel meaningful to you? Activities and qualities that make you feel most alive or fulfilled and aligned with your authentic self are really good indicators of the things that you value. Next, explore emotional reactions. Identify situations in the past that have brought up strong emotions, both positive and negative. For your positive emotions, what experiences have you had that made you feel joy or gratitude or just satisfied? What do those moments say about what you value? And then for your negative emotions, what makes you feel angry or frustrated or sad? These negative emotions often point to a time when your values have been violated. Frustration with dishonesty might reveal a value of integrity, for example. Then identify your role models. Who do you admire and why do you admire them? Who inspires you? What qualities do they embody? What values do they represent that you resonate with? And finally, examine your day-to-day life. Look at where you naturally spend your energy and your attention. What activities or priorities feel non-negotiable to you? What gives you that feeling of being in flow or being fully aligned? Then the next step is to identify your professional values. Reflect on times in the past where you felt fulfilled from a professional perspective. Think about moments in your life, academic maybe, or professional, when you felt accomplished or you felt deeply fulfilled. What were you doing and what was it that made it rewarding? Doing this is going to give you insight into the types of activities or environments or achievements that align with what you value most when it comes to your work. Then explore your professional aspirations. Think about what excites you the most about becoming or being an entrepreneur. This identifies what draws you to entrepreneurship and uncovers the principles that help to guide your vision. Then identify your emotional drivers. How do you want your business to make you feel and to make other people feel? Because this is going to highlight the emotions that you value in your work. Things like creativity or security or connection. The things that shape the experience that you're aiming to create for your business. And finally, getting really clear on your purpose. Big question, why did you start your business other than to make money? This is going to ground your professional values in your purpose. It's going to show you how they align with your larger mission, your brand why. And then the final step, reflect on that list and then choose 10 values that resonate with you. Then narrow them down to the 3 to 5 that feel kind of the most essential to you. And if you feel stuck on that, ask yourself this: if I could only hold on to one value, which one would it be? Then start to look for the patterns between your personal questions and your professional questions. What values are repeated? What are you seeing over and over again? If you're still stuck, test the alignment. Look at that list of values and ask yourself, does this feel deeply true to who I am and who I want to be? Once you've got your core values, you can move to step 2. So that's identifying your business stage. Building a business is done in stages. It's a journey, right? So your growth anchor is going to connect to each stage of your business. So you're going to start by figuring out where in that journey you are. So usually that's in one of 3 stages. Stage 1, the idea phase at the beginning. Stage 2, the launch phase when you launch the business. And stage 3, the growth phase where you're growing the business, where you're sustaining it. Now you know what stage of business you're at. You have your list of core values. We're going to use those to create your first growth anchor. And think of these kind of like a mantra. Keep them short, sweet, and memorable. And remember, these are personal to you. I'm going to give you examples later. I'm going to show you what mine were throughout that journey, but it's really important that they align with you and your values. They're aspirational. They reflect an identity that lives within you that you aim to embody through your actions. And just a quick note here, don't worry if this doesn't come to you straight away or straight off the bat. After we've been through the framework for this, I'm going to take you through some examples, but also this does require quite a lot of reflecting. So give yourself the time and space to do that. And now I'm going to show you the growth anchors that made me $250,000 in under 2 years. So these are the growth anchors for those stages in my business. I want to show you them so that you can steal them, or you can just use them as a jumping point to start to create your own. So stage 1, the idea phase, my growth anchor there was experiment over expectation. So in this early stage, you're going to find your hopes are high and you're also probably working constantly, right? There's a lot of work included here in going from idea to income. And it's hard not to set a goal based on expectation of something in return for that. But that being said, this stage in your journey is actually built on acquiring the knowledge and skills you need to ultimately achieve success. Plus, any idea creation process is just a mesh of curiosity and creativity, and we don't want to take away from that with metrics. So by focusing on experimentation, you can do both of those things effectively. And the reason that experiment over expectation was my growth anchor in stage 1 is because from a personal perspective, it aligns with my core values, knowledge and exploration. So then throughout stage 1, all of my decisions, my actions and my reactions were in alignment with experimentation over expectation. I wasn't making decisions based on trying to get something in return. I didn't expect anything in return. Instead, I was making decisions to experiment with things. So you can see how instead of with traditional goal setting, where you're just hardcore aiming for a target, this gives you the space to enjoy the process while also committing to the things that actually will be the things that get you results in less time. Okay, stage 2, the launch phase. For me, I had 2 growth anchors here. The first was learning over earning, and the second was progress over perfection. By the way, these don't always have to be this over that. It's just how it's gone for me. I find them super easy to remember that way. It's just 3 words, but it doesn't need to necessarily be this over that. I just have ADHD and that helps me to remember them a lot better. Like you could just have focus on progress instead, but for me, this over that is much more helpful for my brain. Anyway, back to stage 2 in the launch phase. So in the launch phase, your focus is on marketing. You're growing awareness that what you sell exists and then you're selling it, right? That's what you do in your business in the launch phase. And the smartest way to do this is with organic social media content. It's free and it allows you to understand your target market. So the challenge is that building a social media audience snags almost every single person in the same trap. And that trap is vanity metrics. I did it, and the chances are you have, or you will too. It's really hard not to. Vanity metrics are numbers that look impressive on the surface, in case you didn't know, followers or likes. So they might make you feel really good in the moment, but they won't actually give you any clarity to shape effective strategies for your long-term business success, right? So instead of making something like a follower number or a goal, this is committing to learning from every post. So learning over earning is measuring success by what you learn, not what you earn. So let's take a classic example. A social media post, you post and it performs badly. But here we're committed to aligning decisions, actions, and reactions with the growth anchor, learning over earning. This means the decision equals, I'm going to choose to look at this post as a learning opportunity. The action equals, I implement the results of that lesson. And the reaction, how you respond, is pride and excitement, right? You're proud that you created this post, that you were brave enough to share it, that you had the courage to do so. And you're excited to make the changes from what you've learned when you're creating your next post. Way better than looking at it as this post failed, okay? Then stage 2 is also a hotbed for perfectionism, right? Things like fear of failure or judgment, imposter syndrome, or the Jonah complex often lead to that perfectionism. So that's where that second stage 2 growth anchor can come into play, progress over perfection. The aim is not to get this done to the highest possible standard, which means nothing is done, but instead, with progress over perfection, we're committing to just getting it done. Then stage 3, the growth phase, my growth anchor was action over anticipation. And that for me was because once I began to experience having success, I was actually surprised because I found myself burdened with this weird and unexpected shift. So for the first time in my journey and honestly my life, I felt like I had something to lose. So I became wary where I wasn't before and I was more afraid to take risks. And this is often the case for entrepreneurs when they're in this growth phase. You kind of become stifled by what if, and then your subconscious mind takes the wheel and tries to drive you to operate from a place of anticipation of any of those consequences. And as I'm sure you can imagine, this is a killer of creativity and of productivity. So setting action over anticipation as a growth anchor is making a commitment to measure your output just based on the output itself. You're committing to taking that action. And naturally, more action is always going to equal more results. Okay, so now we understand how to create growth anchors. Let's talk about how to track your progress with them. So tracking your progress with growth anchors is done in 2 parts. The first part is with a simple accountability check-in, measuring that progress based on how successfully you committed to that growth anchor. So this check-in aligns with that central intention of the whole growth anchor system. Remember, the intention with growth anchors is to align your decisions, actions, and reactions with whatever you have set as your growth anchor, as your guiding principle. So in your weekly check-in, you're going to ask yourself the following 3 questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well did I align? 1, my decisions with my growth anchor. 2, my actions with my growth anchor. And 3, my responses to my growth anchor. So be honest in your check-in and be sure to keep track of that progress, because remember, this is the intersection between personal growth and business growth. And business growth won't exist without personal growth. So committing to measuring your progress based on your values and that aspirational identity is what is pushing you forward in both. And that is exactly how you fast track results with these, which actually leads me perfectly to the bottom line of growth anchors. So the thing about humans is that our default mode is to operate from in our comfort zone. And this isn't a flaw, it's just evolution. It's our survival instinct. We rely on subconscious beliefs that are there to keep us safe. Growth anchors are asking you to put your conscious mind in the driver's seat instead of your subconscious mind, which is there for survival. With growth anchors, you take action aligned with your vision instead of actions that keep you safe, despite how uncomfortable this will make you feel. So along with accountability, growth anchors are measured by your transformation from discomfort to comfort. Because as I said before, without personal growth, there can't be any business growth. And growth is defined by finding comfort in the uncomfortable. And for me, and the reason I'm sharing this, is that willingness to step out of my comfort zone was the key that took the one-person business I started with $57 to almost $500,000 in sales in the last 3 years. And I'm confident that if I had relied on goal setting, that wouldn't have been the case. I would have been stuck in that succeed or that fail. And it's really as simple as starting with asking yourself this one simple question. What value do you want to guide your decisions today?